The world tells you that you are entirely in control of your own destiny. You are told that your thoughts are yours to command. If you want to change your life, all you have to do is make a firm, conscious decision. So you make the decision. Why does it always fall apart? You set the alarm for 5 in the morning. You buy the expensive new gym clothes. When the alarm rings in the pitch black of the early morning, a completely different version of you wakes up. This version does not care about your grand plans. Who is this other person living inside your head? This version just wants to stay warm. It hits the snooze button without hesitation. It aggressively sabotages everything your past self meticulously planned the night before. You wake up 2 hours later feeling defeated. Have you ever wondered why you feel this constant friction inside your own mind? You sit down at your desk with one goal in mind. You need to focus immediately. You have a major project to finish, a looming deadline to meet, and a future to build. So you open your laptop and stare at the glowing screen. Why are you suddenly looking at meaningless videos on your phone? You catch yourself almost immediately. You feel a familiar, heavy wave of guilt. You tell yourself that you just need more discipline to force your brain to cooperate. You try much harder to pay attention. Can you actually conquer your own mind by sheer force of will? The real answer is far stranger. You are not lacking willpower. You are fighting a brutal, unwinnable biological war against an ancient ghost. You must first understand the illusion of the unified self. How many minds do you actually have? You feel like one single passenger. You think you drive the car. You believe your conscious mind is holding the steering wheel and choosing the exact destination. But your deeply held belief is completely wrong. What is your brain actually doing beneath the surface? Your brain is incredibly chaotic. It is a massive, noisy boardroom. It is filled with different primitive executives shouting at each other over an internal intercom system. They do not share the same goals. Why do they want to control your behavior so badly? They ignore your modern ambitions entirely. They only care about raw survival. They are strictly programmed to keep your ancient ancestors alive in a brutal world that vanished thousands of years ago. They control your deepest, most primal urges. Why can you solve complex math but fail to resist a simple donut? Evolutionary psychologists studied this exact contradiction. Leda Cosmides found the startling answer. Along with John Tooby, she proposed that the human mind is not a single general-purpose computer at all. It is a highly specialized Swiss Army knife. What exactly does this mean for your daily life? Your brain is deeply packed with hidden software. It contains dozens of highly specific modules. These independent survival programs were engineered over millions of years on the hostile African savanna. One specific module is designed to find calorie-dense food. Why does it actively destroy your modern diet? Your modern prefrontal cortex knows much better. It is the newest part of your brain. It deeply cares about your long-term goals, your physical health, and your blood cholesterol levels. But your ancient foraging module vehemently disagrees. Does it know you live in a safe modern city? The foraging module is totally blind to the modern world. It genuinely thinks you are starving. When it sees a rare pile of sugar and fat, it immediately seizes control of the chaotic boardroom. It floods your entire nervous system with dopamine. How can you possibly fight millions of years of evolutionary engineering? You do not eat out of weakness. You eat because of a biological hijack. An ancient survival module literally forces your hand to reach out and take the sweet food against your conscious will. This exact same dynamic explains your intense smartphone addiction. Why can't you stop checking your glowing screen? Your prefrontal cortex wants to read a book. It wants to improve your mind with deep focus. But your primitive social module is absolutely terrified of being permanently ostracized from the local tribe. Being ignored in the ancient world used to mean certain death. How does your brain drastically misinterpret modern digital notifications? It views them as literal survival signals. It demands constant tribal approval to feel secure. When someone ignores your message, your brain genuinely thinks you are being kicked out to starve in the wilderness. So you frantically check your phone again to feel safe. Is there any way to permanently shut these ancient modules off? You cannot shut them off directly. They are permanently hardwired into your biology. This brings you to the second major biological obstacle standing directly in the way of conquering your own mind. It activates the exact moment you stop paying active attention. What happens when your mind goes completely blank? In 2001, science found a terrifying clue. Neuroscientist Marcus Raichle ran strange brain tests. He put human subjects into an fMRI machine and asked them to rest and do absolutely nothing at all. He expected their overall brain activity to drop to zero. Why did the machine light up like a blazing fire? A massive interconnected system instantly activated. He called it the default mode network. This hidden biological network is the exact reason your mind constantly wanders when you actively try to rest. It incessantly worries about the distant future. Why does it randomly replay your most embarrassing memories from 10 years ago? You often view this mental wandering as a personal flaw. You try to meditate the noise away. You try to force yourself to be completely present and purely enjoy the beautiful modern moment in front of you. But the network is not a technological glitch. Why would evolution purposefully build a brain that tortures you? A relaxed ancient brain was a dead brain. Enjoying the moment passively got you eaten by predators. The humans who actually survived were the ones who constantly simulated potential threats in their minds every single day. They constantly worried about the approaching winter. Is your brain simply just doing its ancient job? Your network is constantly scanning the horizon. It is actively rehearsing worst-case scenarios. When you try to purposefully shut it off, you are essentially trying to unplug your brain's primary alarm system. The biological system will immediately fight back with extreme force. Why does modern life feel so utterly exhausting even when you are safe? You live in the safest era in history. You have warm shelter and modern medicine. But your network looks at a missed digital deadline and treats it exactly like an approaching physical predator. Your physiological reaction is totally identical to an ancient hunt. Can your brain actually tell the difference between real and imagined threats? It absolutely cannot tell the difference. Your heart races and your palms rapidly sweat. You have ancient foraging modules hijacking your desires and a default survival simulator hijacking your daily attention. But what about your sheer, unmatched willpower? Can you just force yourself to be perfectly disciplined forever? Society constantly tells you willpower is a muscle. Society falsely claims discipline equals ultimate freedom. You are constantly sold the toxic idea that successful people just seamlessly grind through the mental friction every day. But modern science paints a much bleaker picture of human reality. What is the terrible truth about brute force discipline? Psychologist Roy Baumeister studied this extensively for years. He explored a fascinating concept called ego depletion. He conducted brutal psychological experiments where hungry people were forced to resist eating warm chocolate chip cookies. They had to eat raw radishes instead while smelling the fresh chocolate. What happened when they later tried to solve an impossible puzzle? The cookie eaters worked diligently for 19 minutes. The radish eaters quit completely after 8. The people who had to use their precious willpower to resist the sweet cookies gave up more than twice as fast. Willpower is absolutely not a permanent character trait. Why is your conscious mind so incredibly fragile and easily defeated? Willpower is a strictly finite chemical resource. The prefrontal cortex requires massive amounts of glucose. Every single time you resist a distraction or force yourself to focus, you permanently drain the biological battery. By nightfall, your prefrontal cortex is completely exhausted and completely offline. Who takes over the steering wheel when the battery finally dies? The ancient modules instantly seize total control. They ruthlessly run the entire evening show. This is exactly why you inevitably binge-watch television and eat terrible junk food late at night without thinking. Your modern logical brain is fast asleep while your animal brain feasts. Can you ever truly win this biological war against yourself? There is another layer of deep psychological illusion. It goes even deeper into the scary reality of your biology. In the 1980s, researcher Benjamin Libet conducted a controversial experiment that fundamentally shook the entire scientific world. He attached electrical nodes to the top of human heads. Who is actually making your daily decisions before you even realize it? He asked the volunteers to simply flick their wrist. They moved whenever they felt the conscious urge. He shockingly found that the unconscious brain initiated the electrical movement milliseconds before the person consciously decided to move. Your conscious mind is absolutely not the real CEO of your body. Are you just a glorified public relations department? You watch what the unconscious brain does first. Then you rapidly make up a story. You invent a totally logical narrative to strictly justify the action your ancient brain already independently chose to take. This is exactly why you rationalize your bad habits so fiercely. Do you actually control your own mind at all? Your mind completely controls you in the shadows. Then it actively tricks your consciousness into taking the credit. If your brain is a boardroom of ancient modules and an exhaustible battery, what real hope do you have? You cannot permanently conquer your own mind through sheer force. How do you successfully defeat an unconquerable biological machine? You must simply outsmart the ancient hardware instead. You stop blindly fighting the million-year-old computer. You do not win this brutal internal war by fighting harder or demanding more punishing discipline from your tired self. You win by completely changing the active physical battlefield. How do you actually become the master architect of your surroundings? Your ancient brain modules are entirely reactive machines. They respond blindly to visual cues. If your smartphone is sitting openly on your desk, your social-seeking module will instantly detect its bright presence. It drains your battery just fiercely resisting the urge to touch it. Why must you hide your worst triggers completely out of sight? You must make bad habits completely invisible. You must make them incredibly difficult to access. The true secret to mastering your behavior is building an environment that does not require any willpower at all. Put your phone in another room entirely while you work. How do you gently guide the wild animal living inside you? You treat your mind with gentle, indirect strategy. You do not violently destroy it with guilt. You cannot permanently conquer the wild animal, but you can definitely build the physical fences that safely guide it. Your prefrontal cortex must make decisions when fully charged in the morning. Can you finally stop hating yourself for being entirely human? This singular mental shift changes absolutely everything forever. You stop viewing daily distractions as profound moral failures. You finally recognize that your mind is simply doing exactly what it was perfectly designed by nature to do. It is just desperately trying to keep you alive in a confusing world. Are you ready to finally stop fighting the ancient ghost? You accept this harsh but liberating biological truth. The internal mental war finally ends for good. You clear away the visible triggers, build the proper environmental cages, and conserve your precious daily mental energy. You sit down at your desk with one goal in mind: